Tonight we are very happy and privileged to have two very fine speakers, Caitlin from Education and Theater and everything else, and also another who is also in English and Creative Writing and Honors. Two very different speeches, but both that will be very informative and quite interesting and thought-provoking. So for each of the two speakers, we'll have their project advisor / advisor's girl come up and introduce them, and then there'll be time for questions after each speech. We'll have a little break to switch over to the second speech and then the same format. So thank you all for coming, and turn it over to the advisors.
I don't think the microphone's working anyway, so.
I fixed it.
You have to get really
You
good.
got
need it. I fixed it.
It's working.
Oh, okay. Thank you for fixing it.
You're welcome.
I will get upset.
Yeah, I'll just thank you in my box.
I'm gonna grab the mic.
Nope.
Back and forth there. I didn't think so. So welcome everybody. It is our privilege to introduce Kaylin Markson, who we got to work with as both a theater advisor and then with education. And we've been working with Kaylin in trying to combine both of our areas of expertise and create something that she has created a final product, at least final part one.
Yeah.
Yes. To share with teachers that would incorporate concepts of theater within special education.
And that's been a real treat for us. It really was truly one of discovery. She had a really big idea, would you say? Started with a very, very big idea. And through just awesome collaboration between the three of us, pulling in some old experiences and some new vision, I think found maybe one of your favorite humans. Hopefully you get to meet her someday. And a future career path that, as you will hear her talk, brings back a little the 1990s. I don't know who all loved the 90s. So bring it back. But we are so proud of you. The work you've done has been nothing short of incredible. And I agree with Marla. I know this is part one, but I hope you feel inspired to continue these efforts. Excited for everybody to hear it?
Take it away, Caitlin.
All right, so this evening we are going to start with an experience. Now, this might not be your favorite part of the presentation, but we're going to do it. So, when I say go, your group, which I will give you a number, and then you'll go with your group, will turn off your voices, turn over the slip of paper, and turn on your imagination. Without talking, use your group to create a family portrait using the words that you're given. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, Corey. 4, 5, Haley. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Ada. 1, 2, 3. All right. So I'll give that to you. All right. Go with your groups.
3's over here. 3's over here. 3's over here. I'm holding up 3 because 3's over here. Lazy. I'm a great organizer. Everyone came. First. Or the 4th. Oh, you're already breaking the rules.
All right. Now that you are with your groups, voices off. Ready? Go. You can flip your paper over. and tell me your word?
This is my.
All right, group number 2. What is your word? It is circus. Group number 3. What is your word? Superheroes. Group number 4. Your word? Musicians. Oh, beautiful. Group number 5.
We're secret agents.
Yeah, all right, you guys can turn your seats.
That was actually, it was ironic that like me and Bertram got that one.
It was so.
All right, what you just did was a type of facilitated drama experience that you can include in classrooms. Facilitated drama experiences focus exclusively on the process of learning rather than the product that is usually produced. For example, we just did No Exit earlier this weekend, and everything had a place, everyone had a role, and that created a show or a product that was performed for an audience. When you do facilitated drama experiences, you focus on the learning aspect and the skills that the students are gaining. You will see how they react when getting out of their comfort zones to do these experiences, just like how I watched with all of you. Some of you definitely were reluctant, some of you were very confident in your element, and others of you sat by people that you don't know at all, and you had no idea who they were in your group, and you had to throw yourself into the activity. While it may not have yielded the result that you wanted, except for I think they were all very, very good, I watched learning and collaboration happen before my eyes. I'm Kaylin Markson, a musical theater, theater performance, and elementary education major with special education endorsements. And through my research, I found that this type of drama experience helps aid in learning a lot. Therefore, it can be used with our special education students in a way to further their learning. Facilitated drama experiences have positive impacts on students' learning behaviors and when used in inclusive education settings. And these are the behaviors. So cognitive, executive, social, physical, and academic. During my thesis journey, I discovered Sally Bailey, who does theater with individuals who have disabilities. I started with being interested in barrier-free theater, a program at Kansas State University that she directs. This is a quick video to show you what barrier-free theater is all about. And it might be a little loud at the start, my apologies. Their music is crazy.
They had created barrier-free theater about 2 years before I was here as part of Parks and Recreation. And the year that I arrived to teach drama therapy at K-State, they needed a new director. And I had been doing this kind of work in Washington, D.C. before I got here, and so it was a perfect match. This year's production is Camp Bear Claw, and it was created by the cast. We started in September, and they brainstormed a lot of different ideas. We were really torn between Greek myths and maybe something about camp and maybe something about relationships. And they got to come to consensus around the idea that they wanted relationships in camp, and those worked together really, really well.
And you're leaning on your body, and we're starting to do the teddy bear. And then right when you get to the middle of the stage, I want you to do a ninja move. And then we're going to continue, and then you'll do one when you're done. But when you get to the middle of the stage, I want you to do a ninja move there. Yeah? All right, excellent.
When the graduate student directs the program, they write the play and they direct the play, and pretty much they do like the whole play, so like the costume design and the set design, and so I've done all that this year. And at IU I started a program for people with disabilities there, and then when I came here to do this program. Like I came here because of of all of Sally's programs for people with disabilities, and people with disabilities are my focus.
Laura is in barrier free, and it's one of her favorite activities. She loves going to the practices. She loves being with her friends and the other cast members, the adults who help. It's just a chance for her to be silly and to really develop some confidence and not to be afraid to speak loud and to act crazy or whatever it takes. And I think she's a little bit shy sometimes, and I think this really helps with that.
Well, certainly on the participants, I have heard from their parents and from their brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles that it has transformed their lives. It has given them so much self-confidence. It's provided them with job skills that other people don't have. It's brought joy into their lives, and then that brings joy into the family's lives.
So, finding this, I realized that theater has such an impact outside of the classroom, as you could see, so it posed the question, why can't it have an impact inside the classroom? It was noted that it does occur in classrooms, and that can have positive impacts, cognitively, academically, and in other areas as well. Regarding facilitated drama experiences, the main finding is that they affect cognitive behavior the most. The first thing that is enhanced significantly is the student's executive functioning. Executive functioning is the skills you use every day to do everyday tasks. Facilitated drama experiences help exercise or challenge these skills. So, raise your hand if you realize that you were using an executive function during the activity earlier. Okay, I'm going to call on Haley. Haley, what executive function did you use?
I guess attention.
Yeah. Dr. E, do you want to say what executive function you use?
Organization and plan.
Yes. So there's a bunch that fall under that umbrella that we don't have time for. But I know all of you used executive functioning during that activity. These experiences are also so encapsulating that they keep focus, attention, and concentration throughout the lessons. Under this umbrella, there's also physical, behavioral, socio-emotional, communication, and academic impacts. In terms of academic impacts, students use facilitated drama to enhance their knowledge of academic topics. Facilitated drama experiences can be used in every subject and to actually reduce test anxiety. In science, drama can be used extremely effectively because of the relationship between drama and the scientific process. Science is a subject that is essential but difficult for students, so drama can influence how the learning process of the material goes, and also the retention of the material learned. Facilitated drama experiences are able to make learning more concrete for students. In reading, teachers see gains in fluency, expression in their reading, comprehension, and vocabulary. So, I also have a question for you again. Do any of you know how the activity would have changed based on the interpretation of the vocabulary words given? I think the circus one would be the easiest one to talk about that one with. All right. So basically, you all have life experiences and you all learned different things about the circus. So each of you came up with something different that you showed as the circus. Same with instruments. You probably went with the instrument you're more comfortable with. Or secret agents. All of you had guns and looked like this. So that's how. The best example for reading is in the Mission to Mars study, in which students were instructed to act as astronauts. Through their time as astronauts, their literacy competence went up as they had to write messages to mission control, talk to each other collaboratively to navigate around asteroids, and write down different accounts of their missions. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, this seems really hard. I do not know how I would implement this into a classroom. This actually is way easier than you think because facilitated drama experiences are a universal design for learning. As Sally Bailey said in Leveling the Playing Field, universal design for learning is an approach to curriculum development and delivery that gives all individuals an equal opportunity to learn. Most of the ways facilitated drama experiences are implemented involve teachers writing out a situation in a script or as a prompt for students to act out. For example, if there's a student who is really struggling with communicating with a teacher that he wants extra credit, you may use your drama time to go over that confrontation. First, you would write out a script, and then you would try and wean that script off so that it becomes more improv style and prepares the student for anything, basically. And then another example is strictly in academics, and that comes from One Stop Drama Shop. They have an acting story that focuses on how students can use their bodies to show what they know about habitats. And a lot of that is in the reading. There are highlighted words that correlate with habitats, and they have to act it out, as well as someone reading as the person who's in the story. Facilitated drama experiences have positive impacts on students' learning behaviors when used in inclusive education settings. Therefore, facilitated drama experiences should be incorporated in classrooms due to social and academic benefits. The social and academic benefits it offers. While it can be a learning curve for educators, it will leave a lasting impact on your learners. And I push, if you are an educator, to incorporate facilitated drama experiences in your classrooms at least once in your career. And then, if you are in the theater field, which a lot of you in the back are, give people with disabilities an opportunity. Whether you're going to be a teacher or direct your own stuff or write your own things, give them an opportunity. They possess abilities that many actors may lack, and providing them an opportunity offers significant growth in blending the two communities. And there are also so many resources for you to use to be able to do this in your classrooms and outside of the classrooms. So you can look it up or you can ask me. I will give you those resources as well. But I will end with this. Flywire and Drake in 1998 said, "Through drama, we can create a more inclusive world where the voices of people with disabilities are supported, heard, and respected." Thank you.
We have some time for questions. Oh, and if you get a question, can you repeat it in mic so it goes on live stream?
Yeah.
Yes. I'll ask you one now, so you got me. So I was just thinking about the ways that some current research on the impact of the COVID pandemic, basically how that impacted people's students' social skills and ability to learn in a collaborative environment in person. So I was just wondering if you think, this research, some of the things you're citing are in the 90s before you were born, and so I want to know, from your perspective, well, I shouldn't assume, right? I just want to know from your perspective, do you think that this is a very specific time that we really need this because of the lack of social skills, or what is your experience with learning?
Okay. So she had said because of COVID, there is a lack of social skills, and some of these sources are from the 90s, so do you think it's beneficial to have it right now, correct? Okay. So actually, a lot of the sources that I have with a bunch of this information is really current. I found 2025 sources, I found 2023, 24. I used a lot of those, and then 2010s is where it started really re-emerging. But yeah, I do think so. One part that I didn't really get to touch on is how much socially that it affects students. you gain a lot of self-confidence through facilitated drama experiences, along with like just self-growth, and you're able to talk to peers better. And like I said with the one example, it helps with being able to have difficult conversations, especially with our students who may just struggle with having conversations in general. So just being able to plan it out and then wean them off is probably the best thing, but it's like anything else in special education, you just kind of keep working at it until it happens. I hope that answered your
Oh,
question.
yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned that this was stage 1. What do you project as stage 2?
All right, I got asked, I was told that this was stage 1 up here, or you guys were told that, and I was asked what stage 2 is. I don't know yet. What I do know is that I need to fully finish my thesis, and the one thing we haven't quite touched upon is what to do about incorporating it into classrooms. So I was able to tell you that a little bit at the end, that I want you to do it, but I want to, through my thesis, help push people to do it without telling you, hey, go do this. Other than that, I don't know. I kind of hope to see if I can get this published somewhere, or maybe go to grad school. I don't know what my future holds, but I do know that Kansas State University has a great program, so I was actually, in preparation for this, looking up their program, and I was like, maybe, I don't know where life leads me yet, but I do know that I want this to make an impact, so whatever I can do to make that happen.
Did you find, feeling that most of your research focused in a particular age group, or was it a variety of age groups? And I'm curious as to what you foresee yourself working on in the future.
All right, I got asked if I found that all of my sources were in a particular age group or not, and what I see myself doing in the future. Not really. My one about science was 4 to 5-year-olds. My one about reading, well, I have a couple about reading. Those ones were middle school, high school range, actually. And yeah, a lot of them were middle school-ish range, where they're still able to be molded, but also can kind of repel everything that you're giving them. So I don't know if that was the best choice by them, but that's okay. A lot of it was lower high school as well, so 9th grade, 10th grade, just so that they have the capability of doing this. However, they don't call it like drama experiences. It's more play, like drama play when you're younger. So you would be able to do this with way, way younger kids. I just didn't find anything that fit the words that I was trying to use, especially with special education. I would say maybe middle schoolers is what I think would work the best with this, and where I kind of want to go with this, just to revitalize like their love for learning. Because once you hit middle school, you hate everything and you don't want to do anything. So just to be that person to show them that there's a different way of learning, and maybe they can bring that into high school as well. It's just that turning point that would be the most impactful, I think.
You didn't ask us to make any music, perhaps mime a bit, but is there a musical component to facilitating drama in the research, or that you would like to be musical yourself? Can you incorporate?
I was asked, is there a musical component to facilitated drama? I mean, there can be. That goes more into music therapy, and that was my big question. I saw music therapy, art therapy, all of these other things. What about drama? And so, yeah, you can definitely incorporate music into it, but that pushes more towards the music side than the drama side. That's, yeah. I tried to keep it as separate as possible, I guess is what I could say. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
We might have a few minutes to stretch our legs and have some donuts. Please eat.
Sorry, that was me.
I was surprised anyone caught that. I was like, I didn't like the numbers that were there, so I was like, okay, we'll just put something fun in there.
What is it? Right? Jackson, I hope there's cross-contamination. I'm kidding.
How would there be cross-contamination from the
I
donuts to
don't
the
know.
grapes?
Don't worry, I'll feed you a bite of my donut.
I see. Okay, thank you.
I think that's like butter.
It's purposely bright.
That
Yes,
is
good
butter.
FYI.
I think that's probably. Because you can't use butter.
Well, if you force-fed me a donut,
Well, it's
like,
a
what
war
would the
crime.
charge be for that?
But like,
Attempted murder? No, attempted murder.
Oh, yeah, of course, 'cause
That I
it's
didn't understand. What? I didn't know that he had moved I could flip that, and that it would just be
what happens if I like rub my fist in bread and then like punch you?
Then that would be assault, but like
What happens
the
if I
bread,
get like a bread guy?
the bread wouldn't do anything. The bread wouldn't
He
do
doesn't
anything.
absorb through his skin like
No,
amphibian.
this doesn't thank you. Can I touch it with my
I
pinky?
never know that.
This doesn't hurt.
Okay.
I don't know that. What happens if I like what happens if I like blend up bread with water and then while you're sleeping I just
Inject him
yeah, but if
with
I just
it.
like
Inject him with it.
Inject.
That would be bad.
but
that
it
would
is
be bad, but
entering
it
his
wouldn't-
bloodstream.
Yeah, it would be
That would be bad, but it wouldn't be bad because I can't
It's
eat gluten.
entirely-
It'd be bad because you're injecting gluten into my bloodstream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm bypassing his stomach.
Yeah, I actually realized.
What if I went straight to the
It's
gallbladder?
his stomach that's the issue. He's not like actually like allergic. He's intolerant.
Yeah.
Does your tummy get a little upset?
You get a lot
Yeah.
of but
Sit for yourself.
That's all.
She's like,
Yeah,
I got loads of
why haven't you left yet?
I should have took my water bottle. This is donut probably.
I'm here for that now.
Isaac.
These are not housemaid.
He's like, the entire house, so except that his
That's definitely.
Everybody else did.
I don't know if I really want to watch it.
I'm glad you have backup then.
What is the great thing?
Ada, 3 pounds, all pounds.
I have a full
I don't care
I have a full night ahead of me. By the way, Abby, I can fully understand why that
Right now?
slideshow took me 4 hours because it took me 4 hours too. But I wasn't even working for like 3 of those hours. 3 of those hours I was not doing any work. I was just finding other things to do. Because
It's so boring that
You
it's
don't-
like you don't want to do it.
it's literally like a sentence per slide, pretty more than that. For like
It took
it's
4
such-
hours to do 15 slides.
it's such little work, but still, it took me forever. I did not. But it's done. I don't have to go to class anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's only 2 days or 3 days because I didn't have to go to class today. So there's no final. This is probably meet for final start of June because there's nothing finished in June. of my finals are on Wednesday, and one of them we're not even taking the finals then. We're just going to be young, which I would do. That sounded very sad,
Probably after this. Well, I gotta go home and grab my bag. And then if you need to run your
a bunch of things that you can do for recreation. And so like drum therapy is one of those. And so if you need to that's another thing. It just
I really like finals because one of my finals isn't even a test. We're just gonna like play stuff and work out. And then the other one will be but they're both on Wednesday. I don't know when my stuff is for creative writing. But those are both when I'm actually taking a test right now. Chill. So I have one final in finals week. Everything else is before finals week.
It's really good for like an area like this for targeted line.
Ooh.
client presentation.
Well, is that bad or is that not that bad?
No, I think it's good. Until I saw everyone else's client websites, I'm like, oh, well, I have a reason behind my the layout.
It's okay. Did it leave? I'm just gonna go to the radio station after this. It's like 30 minutes of work.
Yeah, the first year we did
It's fine.
second year.
Susie, you want me to get their attention? We're going to start again. Please take your seats.
Bossy.
Crazy.
I didn't know if you wanted to say anything first.
This is Professor Haley Cox Easta. It's me now. And she will introduce our next speaker.
Yeah, so Arnalder is doing his honors thesis with me. I've had the pleasure to watch him begin working on this essay collection that is happening very quickly in front of my eyes. Maybe it doesn't feel like that to you all the time, but I think you're making some excellent progress. So I've got a little formal intro here. When I first met Arnalder, he identified primarily as a poet and fiction writer. Like many young writers, creative nonfiction was not necessarily on his radar. However, from his first essay, the very first one, I noticed his innate ability to weave his own experiences with the history of his country, or to weave natural history and current events through space and time. From polar explorations in volcanoes to fire priests and extinct birds, his work is always filled with urgency and wonder, longing and conviction. Arnalder has already published some prize-winning work in the Waterfront Review and has a piece forthcoming in the Albion Review. And whether it's his creative writing or his recent work, say, anglicizing the sustainability sites for the Icelandic Road and Coastal Administration, like the whole country's Icelandic Road, no big deal at all. Arnalder's writing is already making ripples out in the world. Arnalder possesses a level of self-awareness and maturity and empathy for people in the planet, which is not often found in such a young writer. And above all, he strives for his work to do something, whether that is to inspire empathy or curiosity, or simply to stand as witness to an ever-churning world. I know that this is going to be a really beautiful collection, and you're going to get a chance to right now to listen to some of the work that's going to start it off. So take it away, Arnalder.
Thank you, Dr. Coxey-Stepp. You're trying to make me blush here. All right. Hello. All good? So, for those of you who don't know me, one of my main traits as a person is that I'm from Iceland. So, you can expect to hear a lot of Icelandic words, a lot of Icelandic place names in this essay. You do not need to check your ears. Just talking in a different language sometimes. But yeah, this is probably going to be the first essay in my collection that I'm doing for Dr. Daly. It's an essay about change in more ways than one. So without talking too much about it, I think I'd just like to let it speak for itself. Is it on and on?
Take it out.
Pick it up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I need my arms actually.
Can you guys hear?
Still all fine?
Project.
Hello. No, I don't know how to project. I do not have a presence, but.
You can't have an aura.
But no, I'll try to be as loud as possible. How about that? Colors of the Ivy. I've been thinking a lot about change recently. In 2014, Walkjökull became the first Icelandic glacier to lose its distinction as one. Side-by-side comparisons to images taken decades ago show the dramatic scale of the decrease. The shield volcano Walk, once under 6 square miles of ice, is now exposed. Depressions where the ice once piled up visible from the air. Scars we were never meant to see. On a commemorative plaque installed at the scene, Icelandic author Anders Magnusson eulogizes Walkjökull and reminds the watching world at large that all of Iceland's 13 remaining glaciers are headed down the same path within the next 2 centuries. Andre aims his words at the yet to be born, quoting, "This monument is to acknowledge that we know what is happening and what needs to be done. Only you know we did it." When I hugged my father goodbye, hours before stepping onto the plane that would bring me to college in Iowa, I fought against the sob that had been building up since the night before, when I beheld my whole life in a pair of suitcases on the living room floor, packed and headed due west. A new chapter beginning, a reinvention underway. I forced the sob down and struggled to steady my breathing as Mom drove me to the airport, staying with me for as long as she was allowed to before herself shedding a few tears after the final hug. I can't quite place her look as I ascended the stairs at Keflavik International Airport. A pained smile, dark blue eyes peered, looking up at me with singular love, and a fear of what might come next. I was not the first child she had seen off into the world, but I was taking the largest leap. Not even 2 full months before, I was waiting for the university to send all paperwork required so that I could weasel into a meeting at the Reykjavik U.S. Embassy by any means necessary. Now the abstract was real. The plane took off, and I needed to ready myself for the challenge. I had the windows, but it was a dour, cloudy day at the Arctic Circle. I didn't care for the view anyway. I was going out to somewhere greener. Much later, on my 4th year of college, I would learn that the most frequented building on campus, the atrium, is less than 40 years old. This central gathering area is so entrenched in campus topography that it looks as if the other, much older surrounding buildings have sprung out from under it, arms reaching everywhere to grow, like roots. I can't imagine campus without it. One of the buildings sprouting out from the atrium, Orson Hall, sports a variation of Boston ivy draping down its northern facade. As students enter the school year in early fall, they're greeted by a deep green fanfare of leaves as initiation. Curious eyes will glance up, some interested, some bored, even others indifferent, but we all notice the ivy. Like the double glass doors flanked by ionic columns and the sleek lettering above the lintel, the floor adds an air of legitimacy to the whole operation. The Icelandic climate is not kind to living decorations. Cold and functional was in vogue when most of modern Reykjavik's important buildings needed to rise. The newer crop of architecture loses the concrete for complex splash shapes, but the overall feeling is still the same, imposing and lifeless. Icelandic architecture does not utilize ivy, and I had never before seen it outside of American media, colored green, yellow, or red, and bathed in sunshine as academics late to lectures brushed across the grass. My first fall in Iowa, I spent hours between classes in the lounge area overlooking the main entrance, watching the ivy change from green to red, then dry out before falling, dead, to be swept away by groundskeepers. I don't think my classmates gave it the same weight as I did. Most lived nearby, or in similarly temperate areas, and those that didn't were more likely looking forward to seeing snow for the first time. Regardless, we passed through the ivy's changing colors together. We grew and understood ourselves and each other more as leaves sailed downward around us to a new ecosystem, feeding the cycle. It was novelty to life for me that year. I looked forward to every day as a means to discover something new, happy to experience the change. When Donald Trump won his first presidential election in 2016, I had a paper route. I had overslept slightly, waking up at 6 a.m. Wednesday morning to find my dad in the exact spot I had last seen him, standing over the TV, watching Icelandic coverage of the 45th U.S. President-elect deliver his victory speech. He was not pleased. His unease palpable in how he remained glued to the screen as the kettle boiled and the toaster spat out his breakfast. However, too young, too tired to really contribute, I made small talk as I got ready to deliver the same news to the rest of our neighborhood. I remember little else from that day, but in the following years, the event itself was always present in the background. For my dad, a muted, pragmatic anxiety, a worldview collapsing. For my mom, more than a little bit of anger. On the other hand, some of my friends dared to be excited, feeling like it was time for a change. They did not care from which direction it came from. Looking back, it feels like we didn't really know what to do with ourselves. Boston ivy and its relatives is different from other vines in that it doesn't shoot aggressive tendrils to very deep into the surface, electing rather to use a natural adhesive to glue itself to the sides of structures, damaging the foundation less. There's something beautiful in that interaction, as if the ivy is making a conscious decision to recognize its place in a larger whole, seeking to disturb as little as possible. One of Trump's first acts as president was to pull the United States out of the Paris Climate Agreement, believing climate change to be a non-issue, a hoax. I think this zero-sum philosophy could only ever lead to that conclusion. That an existential threat could exist and would require sacrifices to be made at a cost of the doctrine of endless growth is too large a problem to care about, especially given that its worst effects are seemingly generations away, not something of concern. So the preferred course of action has been, and continues to be, to ignore or discredit the voices which scream the loudest. Icelandic media reported diligently and frequently on withdrawal. For a country vulnerable to an unstable climate, the heavyweight of the Western Hemisphere willfully, explicitly denouncing a lifeline read and continues to read its existential threat. We Arctic few, seeing the safeguarding of our environment cease to be a salient political issue, could only look on and hope for an eventual course reversal. November 2025. The novelty of America has worn off. Only small pockets of maroon foliage remain attached to Thorson Hall, and the grass around campus is strewn with wilted brown debris that crunches underfoot. Waking up for a morning class, my body, grown accustomed once more to corn sweat and sunlight, shivers. But even as Halloween has come and gone, as cheap Christmas decorations pop up on dollar store shelves, and the season's first snow has settled at the margins, the town remains frighteningly green. And the grass is still verdant, and the maple outside my bedroom window has only just seen its canopies turn yellow, which could mean the tree has not received the nutrition required over the summer months. Chatting to my mom over video from the front porch, there's a disbelief in her voice as she remarks that it's all still so green for you out there. Some small part of me, not wanting to let go of the warmth, feels that this is a good thing. Comparing the scene to photos I took 3 years ago, it seems they were taken in different seasons. Broadly speaking, ivy thrives in warmth. Many species are taking advantage of the shifting playing field. Kudzu in the American South and English ivy in Europe have both seen tremendous growth in recent years. As invasive species, these ivies spread aggressively in a given forest's understory and bury their roots deep into the soil, suffocating young native plant life before it can itself climb above the forest floor. For kudzu, the understory itself isn't enough. Growing up to a foot a day, the invasive vine has been known to climb the highest trees, even uprooting them entirely. Spreading out from the south, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, kudzu infestation has been reported as far north as New Jersey. It thrives extensively in areas with hot summers and mild winters. Boston ivy, by comparison, does rather poorly outside of controlled, cultivated scenarios. It gets overrun by local flora in most wild environments. I later remarked to some of my friends how strange it is to still see vestiges of summer color in November. And rather than add to the conversation, they don't really answer. The topic here in the States seems to be one that simply shouldn't be talked about too much. People have other things to worry about. And so it is relegated to the margins in a culture dominated by the pursuit of happiness and love with easy solutions to solvable problems. A culture founded on people, welcoming violence, and still, paradoxically, hesitant to change. By the time Donald Trump won his second election, no one paying attention could be surprised. Still, somehow, I was, much like the host of the election desk, keeping a poker face whilst reckoning with the idea that it was all happening again. Nearly a decade of disruption of politics towards post-truth, shifting the Overton window rightward, continuous, foolish underestimation from the other side, and a weaponization of new media all played a part in the outcome. But so too did the simple fact that Donald Trump was now a normalized phenomenon. His disruptive tendencies, celebrated by so many as a means to uproot the bureaucracy, drain the swamp, that stood in the way of happiness. To millions, this form of politics felt and continues to feel like necessary violence. As the odd Trump hoodie wandered around campus in the days after the election, I'll admit that the immediate climate change effects were far down the list of my own concerns. No doubt a lot of people felt the same. And so when the 47th president pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Agreement for a second time some months later, it barely got news coverage outside of dedicated climate spaces. It was the dawn of the new American Golden Age. Priorities had shifted. On the eve of October 28th, 2025, in stark difference to previous years, Reykjavik was hit with a blizzard that piled up 17 inches of thick snow overnight and ground daily life to a halt for a few hours in the morning. This was the first snow of the season and resulted in Iceland's heaviest October snowfall since records began. My dad shared pictures of the damage to the family group chat, a foot of snow piled on evergreen tree branches, a Volkswagen fully buried in the driveway, a void of clouds in the sky. "So pretty out in the garden," my grandmother replied sardonically. A week later, following rapid warming and rain, Reykjavik was gloomy and snow-free again. Growing up, I had heard second-hand stories from my grandparents of the Great Frost Winter of 1918, when the entrance to Reykjavik's harbor, along with every other Icelandic port of entry, froze over, trapping boats. The strait that splits Iceland and Greenland was fully immersed in sea ice, and dozens of polar bears were sighted near Reykjavik and other settlements. That January, temperatures plummeted to negative 36 degrees in northeast Iceland. 104 years later, in 2022, nearly to the day, the same region saw a nighttime high that would have been abnormal for the area, even in summer, 64 degrees Fahrenheit. 104 years apart, 100 degrees difference. Discussing with the professor the feasibility of starting a sustainability drive on campus, I hear that after nearly 3 months, I am the only student to have shown direct interest in the movement. The excuses remain the same. People are busy, don't have time to care. I'm an outsider from the Arctic, my identity impossible to untie from my natural environment. The agricultural monotony of Iowa sometimes be hard to reckon with. Icelandic nature feels like something to exist in, to be a part of, to respect and cherish. Sometimes the island environment feels like something to be used up, a blank canvas to be transformed into a place where we humans can better put down roots. Iowa's nature, restored in pockets, is beautiful in its own right, but it seems not central to daily life, a roadblock in the way of development. The wetlands and prairie were paved over long ago. The clouds have parted, and it's a rare sunny day in southwest Iceland as the wheels lose traction and I feel the familiar rush of blood to my head as the plane takes off. I picked a seat on the right side of the aisle, by the window, for exactly this moment. Now, as the plane climbs up and west, I see clear over Faxa Bay towards Snæfellsjökull Glacier in the north. This glacier is one of the country's smallest and most famous. In the 19th century, Jules Verne positioned it as a pathway to the center of the earth. And this aura of mysticism has persisted as the Icelandic tourism boom propels hundreds of thousands to its foothills every year. On clear days, it's visible from Reykjavik, towering out of the ocean 150 miles away, a sentinel keeping watch. I see it clearer from the air than I ever have. What I envisioned as a sprawling mass of ice stretching nearly 1,000 meters from the peak now barely covers the mountain's summit. A cube of ice melting in a pool of warm seawater. Snæfellsjökull is predicted to disappear entirely before I turn 50. Anders Magnusson wrote his Folkekut eulogy for the unborn citizens of the world. But I do want to impose a question on those currently living. Which species of ivy are we? Are we, like the Boston ivy, a willing member of the greater whole, existing beside, not in spite, and overrun if it oversteps? Or are we more like Kutsu, invasive, demolishing all in our path, ensuring our survival at the cost of the other? Which species of ivy do you want to be? Thank you.
Who has some questions?
I don't buy it, I swear.
I know that this is one of several essays that you will be continuing with through the year. Do you want to talk a bit about your plans for how this essay will fit into that collection?
Yeah, so I got asked about where this essay fits into the larger collection. So what I'm leaning towards is this essay will be the first in the collection. Mainly because I really want to start my entire thing with the words I've been thinking a lot about change recently. But I also do think this touches on a lot of what I want to talk about. I want to talk about my identity as an Icelander. I want to talk about my experience here in Iowa, the interaction of those cultures, my experience of that, how I myself have felt myself change, what I've learned, what I've done, tie that all up into the environment, which very recently I feel I've felt is very important to talk about, to think about.
First of all, big fan. That was wonderful. Thank you. Do you have any concerns that as tourism increases in Iceland, that there could be kind of this cultural shift of what you described from how Icelanders' relationship to the land to Americans' relationship to the land could be, almost exploited? I've been to Iceland. I've been to Glacier Bay and seen the glaciers recede or been told about how they've come back. At the same time, I'm probably participating in activities over in Iceland that are negatively impacting the land. So is that a threat to that part of Icelandic culture that more relies on tourism?
So I've been asked about, I guess, the tourism boom and how it relates to the Icelandic relationship with nature. I think we're already seeing that change happen in a very real way, not only in just as in the interactions with nature, but in Icelandic culture itself. You go through downtown Reykjavik right now, and it's geared for the English speaker much more than the Icelandic speaker now. It's very hard to be in downtown Reykjavik and find somewhere where there's only Icelandic, and that's not a bad thing, but it does show the change. And speaking on the nature element of it, there's been a decade or more of debate on, tourists leaving leaving trash behind, going to protected spaces and leaving trash. It's a big scandal some years back about tourists, to use a good word, defecating in a national park. And this is something to be explored later in this collection, but there is that infantilizing element to Icelandic culture as something to be experienced, which is happening right now. You know, buses and buses and buses of tourists going out for magical adventures and exploring, and you know, they're getting upsold and whatever, but that doesn't matter. It is already happening, and there needs to be, I think, in my opinion, a discussion around how best to tackle that. And I'm not saying that the way forward is to, you know, shut the country down, don't let anyone in. That's not how we can do it. It's not how we're supposed to do it. But it does need to be like a bit of an examination. You know, I think the nature itself in the current Icelandic tourism industry isn't respected as its own thing. It's, you know, something to be experienced. And so people go up to receding glaciers, and maybe the tour guide will say something about how it's receding, and you know, when he was a young boy, you could have seen it, you know, hundreds of meters down into, you know, the valley. People will be like, oh, that's sad. We'll not think about it too much further. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Are you going to continue with like the element of your family being important in these essays?
I'm going to ask about my family, and will it all continue about my family being important in the essays? And, I mean, I can only answer yeah. There's you've been with me in nonfiction. You've read a piece about my grandmother, whom I love dearly. But talking back, like, thinking about my own identity as a person, it's incredibly shaped by my family, who my family are. It's I'd say it's a very, very curious family. We're educated. I'm very lucky with my upbringing, I guess I should say. But it will continue. But if I'm honest, it might be more in a side role, as something to be referenced every now and again, something to remind the reader who is speaking. Does that make sense? Or yes,
Yeah. So there is I've read your work for a long time, and I think this is endemic here. So there's a very thin line in your work between precarity and hope. On one hand, your work is kind of like cataloging how laissez-faire politics will eventually lead to our own extinction. On the other hand, you're giving us a very urgent call to action to self-reflect. So I'm not going to focus on the precarity in this question. I want to focus on the hope. What does hope mean for you in your writing? And how do you envision your writing going forward as an act of activism?
So I got asked about hope in broad terms.
That part.
I see hope as a part of my work and how I see hope and my writing to continue to exist as an act of activism, as you so said. And I mean, hope is the only thing we can have. Hope is so extremely important because we just can't fall into an apathy about situations. We can't fall into an apathy about things. We need to remember that we can change things and we have power. And there are plenty of examples of that, of people changing things, of people bringing awareness to situations, of people advocating for better policy through change, through activism, through writing, through speeches, through actions. I mean, we talk about, there's so very often this phenomenon of climate change is talked about as a thing that we can't do anything about, that the younger generation doesn't need to worry about it. We exist in the moment after, and this is not the case. We exist in the moment now, and every tenth the degree of damage that we can prevent is more life. It's a better world for everyone. I think to my favorite author, Ursula K. Le Guin, who has a lot of quotes I can use at any given moment, but when I think about is, the world is always new, however old its roots. We exist in the world, we don't exist outside of it, and we exist with the means to change it if we want to. And my job is to bring that hope to people, hopefully. Any more questions?
Will you tell people about what you're going to do after you graduate, what you're looking to do?
I got asked about what I'm looking to do after I graduate. Well, I'm thinking about an MFA, hopefully, in Canada. I see there's a couple of colleges with degrees in environmental writing, which is something that you asked me a year or two ago, I would have said that sounds boring. But I find it's very interesting to just, talk about these things. But after that, yes, and I have no idea. Go anywhere. I love, more than anything, what I've realized is that I like being able to talk with other people, communicate about that. That's what I want to do in the future.
You sort of started off, you sound a little bit disappointed with the Midwest, and I am too, as a native Midwesterner. So I'm curious, do any of your other essays, I'm looking at Devil's Tower on the other side of your laptop, do any of your essays include some travel, some writing from other places here in the U.S., or are you going to write about perhaps seeking out hope in other places, in landscapes that aren't quite as chewed up about?
So I got asked about my experience kind of in the U.S., my experience in the Midwest, and whether I'm planning to be writing about more places in the Midwest, writing about traveling, and did you say find hope in other places as well? That's a maybe. Right now it's not something I've committed to, I guess, but I mean, you talked about being disappointed with the Midwest, and I think it's hard sometimes to remember what a beautiful place the Midwest is, because it is also flat and monotone, because it is also much the same, and because it is also developed. And like the actual nature only exists in like pockets, sometimes you feel like. And yeah, in that regard, there needs to be more of that. And even then, the Midwest is still doing good things, similar sometimes. Iowa's clean energy record is not too bad. More states would follow that line. I mean, who knows? But maybe more directly to your point, there is something very cool about interesting, unique places like Devil's Tower. You see it all the time, I feel like, in nonfiction, just meditations on unique places, and there might be something there. So that's a strong maybe of that.
Thank you all for coming, and I'd like to remind all the students here, you too can present something next semester. We have Inquirere usually at like the last week or second to last week of each semester, and whether you're in honors